What's up everyone, the Game2K2 here once again, and today I continue my review of the Harry Potter franchise with a video game adaptation to the Goblet of Fire. My expectations for this game were pretty high when I bought this game because it was the Goblet of Fire. It had the Triwizard Tournament. Those three events alone should have made this game the best Harry Potter game ever, or at least the most action-packed game in the game franchise. But does it live up to those expectations? Let's find out. While the previous three games were based more on an open-world type of environment and allowed you to go to most of the missions at your own leisure, Warner Bros. Interactive for whatever reason felt like changing the gameplay around a little bit, and takes away the open-world setting, and goes for a more mission-based type of gameplay, where the game just leads you from mission to mission to mission, with barely much time for a breather in between. Now, because the game has eliminated the open-world element, the game is now based on normal levels and not just the castle. The positive part about this is that you can now go into areas that weren't in the previous games. However, the gigantic negative part is that you really can't enjoy the environments, because the game throws nothing but enemies at you. I'm also a little disappointed with the game's setup. A really sad element to the game is that it spends little to no time in the castle itself. Most of the game is spent running around the outside of the castle, which is truly unfortunate. You get a little bit of time in the castle in the prefect's bathroom, and I guess you can count the herbology classroom as the inside of the castle as well, but that's really about it. That's actually kind of strange, because 95% of the books and films is spent inside the castle, so I have no clue what motivated the developers to keep the game outside of the castle. Like most level-based games, you start off at the first level and you have to unlock the rest one by one. In this game, you collect shields known as Triwizard Shields, and they help you unlock each level. Naturally, as the game progresses, you also unlock the 3 tasks as well. While I don't mind level-based games, I think if you're going to do a level-based game, you should have a lot of levels. The Goblet of Fire has 11, which is a good number, but it feels rather small when you consider you have to go back to each level a few times throughout the game, which never made sense to me. Why not just to introduce new levels each time instead of having the players go back to the previous levels? To me, this makes the game far too redundant, and it feels like the gameplay drags on a lot on occasions. Also, another flaw with the regular levels is that they have the worst camera angles. The camera angle is too far away and is placed at an angle, which makes navigating your character much harder than it needs to be. Despite how much the main levels drag, the Triwizard Tournament tasks go by way too fast. In my opinion, these are the levels that should have been the longer and more challenging levels, but instead they are really dumbed down. The first task is pretty simplistic. You have to ride a broom in a set pattern to outrun the dragon, and you have to go through rings to speed up. This would be interesting if it wasn't so easy. There is little to no challenge in this level because besides going through the rings, the game kind of steers for you, which is boring. The second task is kind of interesting, as you swim in the pattern and use spells to fend off monsters and get objects out of your way. The monsters themselves are easy to kill, but sometimes getting objects out of your way would require a lot of wand waving. I think the only real challenging element is your visibility. Sometimes when you cast a lot of spells, the light caused by the spells would make it tough to see. The third task disappointed me the most because it was unbelievably short. You have to outrun the attacking maze, then you face 2 rather easy monsters to save Cedric Diggory. However, to the game's credit, this does lead to a very challenging and well set up battle with Voldemort, where you have to face creatures that he throws at you, and you actually connect wands with him for a little bit in the beginning. While the main levels leading up to the tournament feel long as hell, the game as a whole isn't very long at all. If you are one that just wants to do the task and not really take the time to explore the levels, then the game just barely makes it over the 2.5 hour mark, which is unbelievably short. The thing that made the first 3 games long was the open world setting. Eliminating that just makes the game several times easier and shorter. Unfortunately, I was only able to get my hands on 2 versions of this game, and that's the PC and Xbox versions. The PS2 and GameCube versions I was unable to obtain in time for this review. But unlike the previous 3 games, I really didn't need the other versions because each version of this game follows the same plot, levels, and missions. The only thing that separates them this time around is the graphics. When playing the PC and Xbox versions, the PC is the definite winner. The graphics are more detailed in both the in-game graphics and the cutscenes. That isn't to say that the Xbox is a slouch in that department. In fact, the Xbox looks rather good in its own right. Granted, the cutscenes don't look quite as smooth, and the frame rate does get a bit messy when casting a lot of spells, but overall the graphics look fine. For the PS2 and GameCube versions, this is where I'm grateful for the internet because I'm able to look up videos and pictures of each version and see what they look like. In all honesty, both versions look pretty much the same from my point of view, which from this generation of gaming isn't anything new. Control-wise, the game is both a step in the right direction, but continues to go in the wrong way in a few areas. The good part about the controls is that they are far more responsive than the previous 3 games on both the Xbox and PC versions, and I'm guessing the PS2 and GameCube versions as well. However, it's still going in the wrong direction when it comes to the spell system. As I've stated before, I think the developers need to create a default control scheme for the spell system and allow you to use the spells whenever you feel like it. Kind of like the old pro wrestling games for the PS1, Dreamcast, and N64, where you had to tap the D-pad on certain action buttons in a specific order, and it would perform the move that you wanted. Some developers think that this is too time-consuming, but most gamers actually do adapt pretty well to certain control schemes. Overall, despite a couple good qualities, the bad really outweighs it. Warner Bros. Interactive tried to do something different with this game and had some pretty good ideas, but those ideas aren't fully realized. Well everyone, that's it for now. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.